We're starting to get some leaks and insights into the Oppo Find N6, and by extension, the OnePlus Open 2. Now, if you ask me, this is one of the best lines of foldable phones on the market because it always has all of the latest innovations in tech in this folding category. For instance, if we take a look at the current Oppo Find N5 as a quick refresher, this generation introduced 3 key advancements that made this foldable extremely innovative. One was the ultra-thin design. It came in at just 4.2 millimeters thin, essentially the same thickness as the USB Type-C port. And since the introduction of this phone, Samsung and even Apple have since adopted similar new ultra-thin designs. The second key upgrade was larger displays, both on the external and internal units, moving from 6.3 on the external display up to 6.6 and 7.8 to 8.1 on the internal display. And considering folding phones were all about maximizing screen real estate, this was definitely a solid enhancement. And the third key innovation at the time was the inclusion of silicon carbon batteries. Now, the selling point of these batteries is the much higher energy density, which allowed this phone to deliver about 1000 milliamp hours of extra capacity over the previous generation, even though it had that much thinner design. So these upgrades, along with the latest CPU, made the N5 potentially the most advanced foldable in 2025. But very inexplicably, they decided not to bring this to the US via a OnePlus branded version, essentially skipping this generation for the US market. But we are expecting this to change with the next generation and the Oppo Find N6. When it comes to the CPU, the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 is going to power all of the flagship phones in 2026, including the N6. This chip is based off of a 3nm process with 8 CPU cores. And in Geekbench, it scores roughly 3800 on single core and 12,000 on multi. For context, that's about the same single core performance as the M4 chip from Apple that's used in their MacBooks. So it's a high performance, cutting edge chip that's going to help the N6 to be cutting edge moving into 2026. Also, over the past year, silicon carbon batteries got even better, and we're now expecting the N6 to have a capacity of at least 6000 milliamp hours, further increasing the usable runtime of this phone. Now, when it comes to screen size and thickness, we're not expecting any major changes here. There could be some slight modifications like an 8.2-inch internal display, or potentially an ever so slightly thinner body, but really the other significant upgrade we're expecting is to do with the camera system, because here the N5 was actually somewhat of a downgrade over the N3, because the main camera sensor went from a 1/1.43-inch sensor down to a 1/1.56-inch main image sensor. So that's somewhat of a downgrade, but it does look like they're going to be rectifying this with the N6 by utilizing the new Sony LYT-808 camera module. And this has an all-new 1/1.4-inch image sensor, which would represent the largest sensor yet for the main camera unit. And for the launch date, the first 2 months of 2026 looks very likely. And if we get a OnePlus version, it's going to come a few months after that, probably closer to Q2 or Q3 of 2026. But I will be updating you guys on this channel as we get further information. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.